Welcome to the solution video of the assignments in the iconography module. So if you went through the lessons in this module, you followed along, the assignments in here shouldn't be too hard for you, and you should be able to kind of complete them without actually watching this video. But in case you got stuck at some point, or maybe just want to practice a little bit more or see how I would approach some things that you were able to do, this video is here for that. So you can see that this module, when it comes to assignments, is a little bit shorter. That's because when you're working with icons in UI design, there's only a couple of things that you really need to master to be able to successfully modify existing icons or to create your own icons from scratch. So the first part is about modifying, the second part is about drawing icons. When you're modifying or manipulating existing icons, there's a couple of things that you need to keep in mind. The first task is just going to be connected to the fact that you can use plugins in Figma, if you have them installed, to add icons directly into your canvas as you're working. So one of the plugins that I love to use is the Force for Icons plugin. You have it in here. You can use it really easily. I'm going to use the shortcut to open this, search for the menus, commands, and plugins, and I'm going to look for the Phosphor Icons plugin. I found it. Let's run the plugin. It's now running. You can see it in here. And let's look for 4 icons shown in the reference. Place them into your workspace within the plugin. Ensure the weight is set to regular. It is, and the format is raw and not flat. So flat means that it's basically like outlined and flattened, if you remember from the video lessons, and raw means that you can actually change the stroke width, and it's created just of like vectors that have strokes applied to them. So flat would be a shape that has a fill. Raw is created with strokes. So from what I can see in here, we have a couple of arrows. So I'm probably just going to search for arrow, and we have the one that goes to the left, to the right, to the top, and to the bottom. Okay, all of them have been added in here. One thing that I can see, because they have frame names in here, is that they're not actually inside my workspace. So I'm going to add them inside. You can see that the frame names are now removed. You can always check if something is inside a particular frame by visiting your layers list on the left. I'm just going to group it like this and center it like this. All of the icons are positioned okay. Order is okay. Let's ensure that they're not placed on half pixels. I did it by grouping them and kind of positioning them, but you could have just grabbed one of them, dragged it, grabbed the second one, dragged it, and so on. So if I hit in here, you can see that all of these are pretty round numbers that we can easily work with. And finally, we need to resize them to 24 by 24. Oh, sorry, 24 by 24. We need to tidy them up so they're neatly positioned in the center of the workspace. They are already neatly positioned, and the tidy up feature is actually kind of blocked for us because they're so nicely done in here. One thing that we could do is maybe kind of give them a bigger spread like this. But yeah, that's all. Perfect. So we have them in here. Our second assignment is connected to modifying the icons that we have in our workspace to make them match the icons in the reference frame. So to do that, we will either have to add, change, or kind of remove elements inside of each icon. Okay, so I'm gonna go inside, and I'm gonna take this shape, which is not a full vector shape from what I can see. So I'm gonna flatten it like this and rotate it by 90 degrees. Now, because rotation is always saved in the icons, I'm also gonna go in here and flatten the shape once again to remove the rotation and to actually make this look like that. Yeah, I think this is perfect. The second one is going inside an icon and removing one of these lines, or 2 of them, to make it feel like the battery is half full or half empty, depending on your mood today. Okay, so the third thing that we have to do is create a little plus icon in here. So for example, let's envision that you have a project in front of yourself, you're using a great icon set, you love it, but there's just something missing inside one of these icons, and you want to kind of expand on the existing style to make it still match it. So you need to first kind of inspect what other elements are using, how many details are inside, and we can see that even if we add this little plus, it's not going to make the icon feel like it's out of place. So I'm going to go inside in here, and I'm going to basically draw a little plus shape like this, and I'm going to rotate it like this. Both of them are now connected. I just want to see if the positioning of these elements is okay. It seems like it. I just want to copy the style that all of the other elements are using. And yeah, we have a little plus icon sign inside of our calendar icon. In this one, we need to remove this kind of haze or rain or whatever it is, and draw a shape of a thunder in here. So I'm gonna do that by going in here, hitting on this line here, move to the pen tool, kind of draw a shape like this. It doesn't seem like it's really centered, but one thing that we could do is to go in here and kind of draw the exact same shape in here again, to kind of make it like, ooh, there's thunder going out of it. Or another thing that we could do is maybe create a line in here and then position the elements like that. Or we can grab all of the points that we have in here and just kind of move them a little bit more to the center of the frame. Again, not like 100% perfect, but it lets you know what you need to do in here. Another thing that we can do with this shape is take this, create something like that. Yeah, that feels correct. Let's just see how far away this feels like it needs to be. I'm maybe leaning towards making it a little bit smaller to give it a little bit more breathing room, but that looks good. In here, instead of removing lines, we need to draw a couple of lines. So I'll try to kind of hit the right spot for it. I'm copying the style of the stroke in here, pasted it in here. And then we have the third shape. I hit enter, go inside and kind of just change it to look like this. This one is going to be interesting. So basically we're going to have to modify this shape below and also add another line in here. So I'm first going to draw that line. I feel like it should probably go like this. I'm holding shift to create it, to make sure that it's really like under the correct angle. So in here you can see that all of these are always going to be divisible by 45 because I held shift and then just kind of dragged it to the bottom left. I'm going to copy the style from here to here. Perfect. This looks like a better place to position it so that it has like this nice overlap in this area. And now let's just move on to this shape. And let's create one point in here, another point in here. So it's probably like 4 points lower. And I'm gonna enter the edit, leave the edit mode and enter the edit mode again and remove it from here. I'm gonna make this like a point higher in here because of the little edge of the shape that's happening. I'm just gonna make it half a point smaller. So now it works. And if I need to make this bigger or smaller, I can easily position this dot. And then I'm gonna switch to this area and maybe create a dot somewhere in here, go in here and remove this shape. So this feels okay to me, and it feels like it's pretty similar to what was done in here anyways. And then finally we have the vector shape in here. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna go in here, select all of the lines and dots that are not needed for my new shape, hold shift, hit backspace, and turn it into a simpler shape of the house. And okay, that's all for this part about manipulating them. Let's see what's in store for us with the next assignment. In here we have a task that says, let's make these icons perfect for UI design needs and standardization. To achieve that, you will need to remove the hidden white fill from all of them. Okay, so let's select all of these layers. I'm gonna switch my little avatar in here. So yeah, I'm removing the fill, the hidden fill from all of these layers. You can see that it was in here. I removed it. Okay. You will also need to flatten them all so that each icon will have a singular shape. Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna go inside, hit flatten, and one thing that I noticed is that all of them have an additional vector shape. So when you have an icon and this one is in a frame, that means that we don't no longer need these empty vector shapes to keep them positioned correctly. So I'm just going to enter each one and go to the bottommost layer inside of the frame and remove that vector shape like this. Now when I enter each one, it's just going to allow me to hit Command E and make it a single vector shape. Enter Command E, enter Command E, enter Command E. Oh, in here I might still have the vector shape. Command E, Command E. Perfect. So we did that, remove the square bottom. Okay, in our case that's redundant. We did that. We need to flatten them. We need to change the stroke of all of them from 2 to 1.5. And finally, let's use a color fill style for the stroke to recolor it to match what we need it to look like. You can either handpick it, or we already have some styles prepared for this file, so I can just go in here and make it the supercharged red style. And that's it for this lesson. In this final assignment from this first part of things connected to icons, instead of flattening each icon into a singular shape with editable stroke, use the Boolean operation union. Okay, so what we need to go in here and inspect is to see if they have the layer. No, so I was good and I removed the white fill and also the square layer from all of these. So what we need to do in here is basically go inside and then create a union. Inside, create a union, and kind of repeat that process for each icon. Okay, a couple of more clicks and we're done. Oh, sorry, not subtract, but union. In here, union. And then, if you see in here, you can still go inside and it's still going to be a shape created from strokes. So what you need to do is to flatten this shape now once the union is corrected. So Command E, and it's now a shape that has all of the points and lines in here created like this and not like this. That's going to ensure that you don't have the stroke control anymore, so you can't make the stroke bolder or lighter, but it's going to ensure that if you resize this, it's actually going to resize it correctly in all of the places. So for example, like this, you can see that kind of proportions of the stroke are staying the same. So it's just like a different approach to what you may want to do when you're designing. Okay, awesome. So all of these are now single shapes. Finally, duplicate the icons and resize them to a 64 by 64 frame. And you can see that we achieved basically the same effect that was there. Maybe just a little bit lighter. Okay, perfect. All of these assignments are now done and complete. Let's go to the draw icons one. Next, in here, we have to draw 3 icons from the reference frame into 1, 2, and 3 frames. The size of the frames is already set. The stroke widths will need to be 1.5, and it's just time to kind of draw the shape. So what I can see in here, the first one is like a little eye. So I'm gonna have this inside, and I'm also gonna make it white and fill, and it's also gonna have a stroke that's probably gonna be centered. I think that's best for the icons. Okay, and for the second part, we have the eye shape. So what I can see is definitely it feels like not an oval shape, but more like a modified rectangle shape. So I'll try to replicate it to best of my ability. Maybe something like this, where the area on top is fully rounded. Doesn't seem to be the way that this should go, so I'm gonna take this point, maybe move it like 1, 2, so it's a little bit closer. Again, it's maybe not going to be perfect immediately, but I'm gonna duplicate this, flip it horizontally, flip it vertically, and place it in here. Now that we have both of these ready, I'm gonna create a union out of these shapes, and I'm gonna flatten them, and then I'm gonna grab this part and this part, and it's gonna be rounded a little bit. It looks a little bit more like a lemon. Okay, so flatten it again, send it to back. Let's copy this styling, paste it in here. Okay, and the fill on this icon is going to be a bit different. It's going to be this one. So it's almost the same. The only thing that I'm not really liking is the fact that there's some kind of a roundness in between these two elements that make it look more like a lemon shape. So let's try to see what we can do to kind of modify it. And I think that the best part would be to figure out how to maybe make this work a little bit more. If I remove these dots or points, that already makes it look a little bit smoother, and I might actually make it a little bit smaller like this. Yeah, I think we're pretty close to that. Oh, sorry about this, I forgot that the stroke size is 1.5. Okay, the other icon that we need to draw is the icon of a user avatar, so something like this. Maybe I can use this to create the fill. So I'm just copying the style, Command Option and V to paste it, and Command Option C to paste to copy the style. So in here I'm pasting it, and then on the bottom we have a little rectangle shape. Maybe something like this. And the two top parts are gonna be something like really rounded, like this. Sometimes when you're pasting shapes, it also resets other things that you don't want to change. So what you can do is flatten the selection in here. Now when you paste it, it's gonna work. And I feel like there might be like a roundness or two on these elements to make them work a little bit better. Okay, and then finally we have a more complex shape, but honestly, if we inspect it, it's like a line, a line, a line. This is most likely a rectangle that has roundness in here, And this is most likely a rectangle that was split in half, and then kind of just take line from point from here and from here, move this one to the right and this one to the left, and you're going to get the same shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one rectangle for the top part. I'm going to duplicate this, place it in here, and kind of hope that it looks okay as this part of the square. What we can see in here is that this edge is a subtle roundness, and this one also has a subtle roundness. This part in here, well, maybe it's not as far away like that, but it looks good. I'm gonna grab this, paste it in here. I'm gonna use Shift E in here to do the same thing. In here, I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna make these rounded so that it works better. You can see in here how these edges clashed, so now it's a lot better. And we need another line in here in the middle. One thing that you're gonna notice when you're drawing icons is that mathematically this is centered, but visually you can see that it needs to be in here. This shape is gonna have a white fill, and there's gonna be an arrow pointing downwards. So one way to do arrows is of course with a arrow tool that you have available, but you can also do something like this, and it just kind of ensure that the widths and everything are matching. Solid, rounded, that should all be good besides this one point, which I want to round. Okay, let's move it downwards like this. I think it's a little bit higher, like that. And then finally, for this shape, I think this part is getting removed. And honestly, it feels like it's made out of two parts, with one of them keeping it, but not having the stroke, just the fill, and this one not having the fill, but just having the stroke. And then when you go in here, it creates this kind of an effect like we have in here. Now the only part that's still missing is I feel like these have some kind of a roundness to them, maybe like that, and that feels pretty good. Again, not pixel perfect. I can see that this one is a little bit bigger when it comes to the edges, but overall, like, all of the things that you need to do and how you need to draw this icon are covered in this video. For the second one, we need to draw smaller icons, so that always when you're working with smaller things, it's a little bit more challenging. So let's try to do that. I think this one is going to be pretty easy because we already mastered this part of like holding a line and then going to a part like this. That's going to be too big. Here, waiting for the alignment. Amazing. And the only thing is we also need two of those on the other side. So I'm going to go in here, draw a line like that, going back. I always try to collect all of my lines. And we have a Bluetooth icon. Okay, this one has the stroke width set to 2, and it also has this kind of a roundness that we need to cover. So in both of these, I can just make them round like that, and perfect. We have our icon ready. Okay, the second one is the camera. So if we analyze the camera, there's obviously a rectangle shape in here, there's a circle or oval shape in here, and there is some kind of a modification to the main rectangle that makes it look like that. So that's what we're going to use. I'm gonna draw a rectangle like this one. Again, I'm not using the grid at the moment. I do highly recommend using that one when you're designing, to just make this entire process a little bit more simple. So what we need to do in here is add a couple of these lines. I'm gonna add this one like that, but I'm also gonna add two of the other ones to make it easier for this shape to work. I'm snapping these, and this one is not gonna be needed in the end. 1, 2, 1, 2. Perfect. Already looking a lot better. Now what we have in here, this dot and this dot, they need a little bit more roundness, maybe 2. These are just gonna be okay with 1. And what else? We need to add a circle to this icon to really make the camera work like it's supposed to. I'm gonna place it in here, take both of these shapes and flatten them, and now they're a single shape like this icon is also. I can already see that I'd love to make this circle a little bit bigger. So if that ever happens to you and you already kind of screwed up by combining the elements together through flattening, you can always go in here and reposition these. Oh, sorry, just this. To make it oval as you'd like to. But the easiest way to do it, because you can already see that this is kind of looking a little bit screwy, is to go back, delete that shape, and just kind of draw a new one that's going to work better with the icon that you're planning to design. So I'm going to grab this, grab these two, place a style in here, grab them, flatten the selection, and yeah. Then finally, we have a challenge of creating this. I think this one can be drawn just by following the lines in here. So I'll just trace it like this. Hopefully, I'll get to the correct shape. Like that. Honestly, better than expected. And then go in here, and then finally we're gonna have to have a dot like that inside of this. Perfect. Let's grab this. Let's take the styling from here, and I think that's it. Flattening it like that. Now it's one shape, and we have drawn our second icon as well. Okay, hopefully if you went through this on your own, you're not gonna have to go through all of these videos, but as I'm really trying to kind of go into detail with every single action that I'm doing and why I'm doing it, if you're watching these videos and going through them because you needed help, hopefully after watching all of this, you're gonna feel a lot more confident and know what to actually do and why. And then we have the final assignment before moving to the final module assignments. And it's about using an icon and then creating a simple illustration from it. So that's often done in UI design when you're just trying to kind of fill up an empty state screen, but you don't have like illustrations in your style guide or like components that you're using in the tab. So you just want to make something really quickly that's gonna reflect the rest of your app, because this icon is gonna look similar in style to all of the other icons that you're using in your interface. So this is the part of your design journey where you might be doing something like this, turning an icon into a simple illustration. Okay, so let's search for Phosphor Icons plugin and Confetti. Okay, I can definitely see that that's the correct one. I can place it in here. I can make it bigger because I do feel like, oh, maybe that's a little bit too big. Maybe something like 64. I'm gonna remove this unnecessary fill. I'm also gonna go inside, kind of make the stroke a little bit bigger. Maybe it's even 5. I'm gonna copy the color style in here, and I'm gonna draw a shape like this. Send it to back. It's gonna be filled with white. It's gonna have the same stroke of 5 and the color that we're already using. So I'm really just gonna color pick this. But one thing I'm noticing is it also has a different stroke. So I think I'm gonna just duplicate it and instead of inside, put it to outside, make it a little bit bigger and make it like 20% or something, and then push it below the one that has the stroke that we need to see. Yeah, I think that's pretty close to what we need to do. And then finally, what we also need to do is go behind this icon shape and just kind of fill it with color. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hand draw these shapes that we need. One of them needs to go, well, I'm gonna place them below confetti. Okay, and let's just use the fill. Now, one thing I can do is I can just kind of duplicate this and kind of scale it to go in here, which seems to work. And I'm gonna place it below that one because I still want to change the color. I still want the green one to be noticeable after I change the color. And then finally, if I duplicate this one as well and kind of resize it to make it fit into space, I'll just have to adjust this a little bit to make it work. I'm gonna make that this orange tone, and I'll have to place it below this one to make the yellow one noticeable. And that's it. A simple way how to create a colorful, simple illustration from just using an icon. Let's see you after the final module assignments.